So you're not emailing every person in a company, you're emailing one person who's shown intent. So as these things get more sophisticated, hopefully it's better for everyone, where everyone can focus on stuff that actually matters.
Hello and welcome to the DesignRush podcast. I'm your host, Bianca Mayer. Today we're delighted to host David Malpass, the Senior VP of Marketing at Apollo, a trailblazer with a rich history in steering marketing strategies for renowned companies. Our conversation will deep dive into David's impactful journey, Apollo's revolutionary approach to leveraging data and AI, the future of marketing and sales engagement, and much more. So buckle up as we get into the world of marketing with a splash of tech intrigue. Obviously, we're super excited to start learning more about your journey and experiences in the world of marketing. So, let's dive into that. And also, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course.
So, thank you. So, you've also had quite the journey in marketing from what I've learned. So, steering the ship in various companies as well. What made you decide to join Apollo last year? And what kind of challenges are you navigating as the SVP of marketing?
Yeah, so I had, I guess I joined exactly a year ago, a week ago, a year ago, and
Wow.
it's been a wild ride so far. I had just left Autodesk about 4 or 5 months earlier, and I was taking some time off, and it was not my intention to join Apollo. Actually, I wasn't really looking. I really needed a break. I had just had an injury and a whole bunch of other stuff. But then I told all the recruiters, I'm not looking right now. I need some time off. And then a recruiter that I really like reached out and said, hey, you should really check out Apollo. And I knew about Apollo. We used it at Autodesk, but I wasn't in the weeds using it every day. And I said, okay, like that sounds interesting. Let's take a call. And then I met the CEO, and I learned first, like selfishly, I learned about the growth. I was really excited about the growth. One of my bad sayings is it's always easier to market something that's marketable, and it was right up my alley with PLG. I've been doing PLG since before it was a cool term, ever since I was 22, 21, 22. And so it was right up my alley. There was explosive growth. And I don't know if you know the story about Apollo's growth, but basically Apollo was a top-down selling motion like everything else in the sales tech space. And about 2 years ago or so, they released the engagement suite, and then switched the motion from a top-down selling motion, trying to sell against these huge players in the space that have these large sales teams and really, really advanced offerings at the time, and switched to a POG motion. So completely flipped the business on its head, and from that, it just exploded. And so raised a Series C back last March, and then obviously the Series D right now, just because they're really investing without building out. We have a CRO now, Leandra Fishman, who's amazing, but we haven't invested all of our resources in locking people into these big contracts and locking people and building out these really large BDR and sales and CS teams to fuel growth. We're able to really put like 70% of our revenue back into R&D. So people just love the product, and it's growing, and the word of mouth is what's building the business. I'd like to take credit for all of that. I will but it really isn't.
I won't tell anybody if you don't.
Yeah, but really, it's just customers love us, and they're spreading the word. So I got really excited about that, especially in this like really challenging time, and seeing the explosive growth of the company, and just sounded like a no-brainer, something I couldn't pass up.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, that's a super exciting opportunity. I don't think I would have passed it up either if I were you. It sounds like you probably went in right at the perfect time as well.
Yeah, it was great timing. There's really been, ever since Sequoia invested last year, there's just been an influx of amazing talent that they've been able to help with, and that the company's really reached a new trajectory, and it's been able to I've been able to bring in just amazing talent. I've pride myself on hiring, and I think that here, especially right now, I've been able to bring in the best talent of my career.
Amazing. That's wonderful. Okay, prior to Apollo though, were there some like steadfast strategies or principles that guided your marketing ethos? And have you had to recalibrate that approach since you came on board with Apollo?
Yeah, so I have always learned by doing, and I got lucky early in my career and joined an awesome startup called Prezi, and there was three people in the U.S. office and a few engineers in Hungary at the time, and
Oh,
I got to see how at the time growth hacking was a cool term everyone used, and I don't know if it's still a cool term, but now it's just growth. It's not hacking anymore, but
yeah.
I got to really learn kind of the growth hacking side of marketing or growth or whatever you want to call it, and at the same time I really got to build out, because there was just nobody there. I got to build out all of our
Mm,
demand gen from scratch, and it was really performance based marketing. So really learned a lot about the performance based, and really learned about a lot about the growth. And I went and we got to like 100 something million users. It was an awesome company. Unfortunately, there were some technological issues, and I left and went to Envision, and I was like, I know what to do here. I've done this before, and then none of it worked. And I said, okay, maybe there's something to this. And so instead of this really performance-based marketing and really growth hacking kind of trajectory that we created, it was really all about brand. And so it was a completely different play. We built a brand, got to about 100 million in ARR just from a brand, and there was a bunch of different companies that were all starting at the same time. The technology wasn't crazy. It was like linking screens together in a prototype, so it wasn't really defensible. So we really built an incredible brand and community, which was just the opposite of what I had done before. Then I went to another company and combined the two, and that seemed to go well. So I
mhm.
really approach it from, um, I think, two things. So first is there isn't really one size fits all for marketing, and there never will be. I've never done the same industry twice, and that's something that I never want to do, because I find the most value in the relativity between what works with one product and one market and one kind of audience, and that's what I find really fun, and that's how I keep learning. And so there is no one size fits all, but there certainly are principles like focus on brand and focus on the metrics. And I see people who come up and they say, yeah, I'm a brand focused marketer, I'm a product marketing focused marketer, or I did DG.
Yeah.
And it's really just the brand and demand gen and product marketing catalyzing each other and being really integrated. That's what's going to work. And if you bring smart people in, the companies I've joined have been growing so fast that you can't micromanage. So you just have to be a good hire. And if you can, and you're lucky enough to bring in great people, and you're able to really integrate those teams so that you don't have a demand gen team doing stuff and a brand team doing stuff, but everything is cross functional, then I think you're gonna have the most success. So no one size fits all. Hire smart people, and demand gen should be catalyzing brand. Brand should be catalyzing demand gen. Like let's integrate everything. So yeah,
Cool. Yeah, I really love that. So it's basically like what you were saying earlier as well is like, um, there's not, like you say, yeah, not one size fits all, but like when you say that, or a lot of brand people say, like, okay, yeah, I'm, this type of brand person or this type of brand person. But the thing that I've heard a lot from people that work in branding and marketing is like finding that balance and like knowing that things like data and, engagements and all of that stuff really combine well together or has to combine. And you have to like keep an eye on all of those aspects to really have like a full idea of what the branding is that you're doing, right?
yeah,
So, or how your marketing is working.
yeah.
So I think that's an important part to keep in mind.
Yeah, I know. I agree. It's especially in today's climate, macroeconomic climate, and even before now. When you're joining companies at Series A, Series B, Series C, Series D, whatever, anything that you're not just flush with cash, it's hard to go make arguments for anything that is fluffy or that is brand.
Yeah.
CFO usually doesn't love it. See, most people usually don't love it. No one really loves it when you say, "Hey, we're going to spend $1 million on a brand campaign." So that's why, if you're really thoughtful about the demand gen campaigns you're running, you're building a brand. And
Yeah.
with brand being really every touch point that you have with your customers, like you can create really effective DG and have really wonderful efficiency while also creating a brand at the same time, not just putting free money buttons everywhere. So.
Exactly. Okay, so I also caught wind that you were rocking out to Metallica while scraping red kicks
Yeah.
before you joined forces with Meta. I would love to hear more about that. So, um, yeah, I'd like to hear more about that. And do you have any other quirky rituals that you keep dialed in to keep onto your A game?
Yeah, so Metallica was not my choice. I mean, I like Metallica. It happens every once in a while. I think that was like the first CD I ever bought. But Udi and Tebi is a wonderful name. He is an Israeli founder who is. This is a funny story actually. He's an Israeli founder who is just like serial entrepreneur, really
Okay.
fun, smart, awesome guy. And similarly, prior to Red Kicks, I had left somewhere. It's been a lot of companies so far, but I had left somewhere and I was taking 6 months off and I was consulting with some awesome companies, Nexmo and Typeform and some other great companies. And
Cool.
I was just traveling the world, so I just kind of went east, and eventually I ended up back in San Francisco. And same thing, a recruiter reached out, and this was definitely the earliest stage company I've joined. They had raised a $20 million seed, which is a ridiculous seed because he's just a fantastic founder, and he is he wears he wears a Metallica shirt every single day of his life, like every day. And
Cool.
like he probably, I don't know how many he has, but I guess I saw the same one, I don't know, they all blend together. But he wears a Metallica shirt every day of his life. And so somehow or another, he's just like an incredible salesman. He's fantastic. And so he got a few wonderful kind of powerhouse investors. He got
Hmm.
Mark Benioff personally to invest. Like he just got a meeting, went over to his house, and Mark Benioff was like, "All right, I'll invest." And then when he was, I hope I get this story right, but when he was with Mark Benioff, he was wearing a Metallica shirt, right? Like, of course, that's what he always does. And so Mark Benioff said, "Hey, Udi, like, come to the phone." And so Udi goes to the phone, and it's Lars from Metallica on the phone. And Udi's like, "Oh my God, this is incredible." So ends up meeting with Lars, gets Lars to invest in Red Kicks as well. And so he just had this ridiculous cast of investors, and that obviously led to, we were actually in San Mateo at the time, so we had like one salesperson at the time, and we were literally at the San Mateo train station. Like, it used to be the train station, and so the train still went by, and so the only way you could drown out the train was to just blast Metallica. So our salesperson hated it, but Udi got to go on private jets all the time. I didn't go with him. Unfortunately, I wasn't that cool to go visit Metallica all the time, and it just became a staple that we would destroy our ears and listen to Metallica for a year or two in that run up to getting acquired by Meta.
Listen, I think that is one of my favorite stories I've had on this podcast so far, to be honest with
Yeah,
you.
and now he's like, okay, that was great. He sold it, went to Meta for a little bit. I left, and now he's moved back to Tel Aviv. He started like the #1 pop recording label in Israel, and he's just like living his best life over there. So shout out to Udi.
Good for him. That sounds
And sorry,
amazing.
Udi, if I got any of
Can't
that
wait.
story wrong, but I think it was right.
I think that was great. That was really, really great. Okay. So obviously you've been in the mix with a bunch of companies that have undergone acquisitions. Sorry, oh my word. Like you did stuff with Autodesk, Building Connected, and as we mentioned before, Meta's Red Kicks. So how does the marketing playbook change post acquisition, would you say?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's always interesting arriving at my I don't know where I got this. Maybe I stole it, but it's I liken it to as a startup, you are like a fighter jet. You're really fast. You make a lot of noise. You burn a lot of fuel, and it's really exciting. And then eventually, hopefully, if you're lucky, you don't run out of fuel or you don't burn out or get blown up somehow. But you land on on an aircraft carrier. And so that's my other bad metaphor that I'm sure I stole, which is getting acquired is really like a fighter jet landing on an aircraft carrier. And the aircraft carrier is obviously way more powerful.
Yeah.
It's maybe 100 times more powerful, but it takes a lot of people to turn it. It's a little bit slow to turn, but it's a force to be reckoned with. So I think, I mean, it obviously depends on the company that you're getting acquired by, but it's it's a lot. It's culture shock for everybody, especially people that have joined a startup. I mean, that's why they're acquiring the startup, is they want the startup talent, and they want the process. And I can talk about Autodesk specifically, which is an incredible company. I mean, they've created a SaaS brand out of an archaic kind of license model, and basically at Autodesk, they acquired 5 different companies at the same time and said, we're gonna go invest in construction. And of course, whenever you join a company, they're always going to say, hey, you're going to be independent. We're going to keep you independent. Like, don't worry about it. You're going to have full autonomy. And maybe that's the case for some people. I've never seen it really be the case. It sounds great to get the acquisition through. But like, they actually did give us a ton of autonomy within the Autodesk way. So like, yeah, we were using Outlook, which is, you know, something that we weren't doing before. We were using PowerPoint instead of Google Docs. We were taking all sorts of trainings that we weren't doing beforehand. We had a legal team, something we didn't have beforehand. And so things like took a little bit longer, but if you're getting acquired by the right company, then we were lucky to still be somewhat autonomous within the Autodesk brand. We had a lot more money. That was one nice thing. I went from, we had 3 products at Building Connected that we were selling, 3 completely different funnels, and that went to 8 or 9 different products that we then were able to market with not that many more people, but we brought a lot of startup efficiencies to a business that wasn't seeing it. So certainly a lot more money. Certainly, I think there is a little bit more safety though when you join a large company. I mean, you see people at large companies being there 15 years or so, or 25 years, 30 years. You don't see that much with a company that's 3 years old. So so there's a little more safety. There's definitely more resources. There's a lot more politics, something that I've never really done, and maybe to my fault. But if you're lucky, you can still be a little bit autonomous, even though you're not ever going to be truly autonomous. So don't believe the, hey, we're just going to keep you on the side, you do whatever you want. Like, there's obviously going to be some integration, and that's always a challenge. But if you're with the right people, hopefully you can be autonomous to some degree still. But really smart people, it's just like a different kind of person that you're working with. It's someone who's come up through a different career track than, you know, a startup. I've just done startups over and over I've been at Facebook or Meta, you know, Apple, Google, whatever. It's just it's a little bit different of a career track.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if I answered your question.
One thing I want it does. Yeah, thank you. One thing I do want to ask you about is when you just mentioned that, you know, something with politics and stuff, and you didn't really get involved in that, and maybe a little bit to your fault. What is it that you meant by that?
I'm not sure this is the right time to go into it. Well, I guess I'll just say I've always tried to let my work do the talking. I've never really built a big personal brand. It's never been my goal. I made my 3rd LinkedIn post ever the other day, and
I saw that actually.
And I've always figured if I did great work, the right person would know about me, rather than really trying to build this big brand of you know, pumping myself up. I've always really focused. Maybe I'm lazy. I don't know. I just prefer to focus on the company that I'm working on, and that's kind of where all of my energy goes into. So,
sure.
What do I what do I want to say? What do I not want to say is a more important question.
Yeah,
Um, I think just the nature of working at one of these larger companies that's been around a long time. I mean, people have been there 5 years. They're waiting on the promotion. There's some people that are have moved departments, and there's a leadership that's come in 8 levels above that is from a completely different business unit that's come in and brought their people, and hopefully you have a good relationship with those people, or they're going to bring their people. And so there's a lot of things that are out of your control at a larger company when you are not at the very top of the food chain. Luckily, I was pretty high up there, but I had people that I brought in that I thought were just world class. I mean, but they were relegated under someone who may have been at Autodesk for 10 years, and they were fantastic. Autodesk is great people. I'm not talking anything about that, but it's just there's a whole lot of things that are out of your control at a larger company, whereas I've always been used to being in charge. Like, I've been leading marketing since early 20s, and so just reported to the CEO and the board, and it's just a different world when you got to go make a relationship with this guy that you've never met before and hope that he likes you and doesn't have people that he already wants in place. And so it's just you have less control over your destiny, I guess, is just by doing great work. It's still super important. We've had people come in and now they're leading teams there, but there's people that have been there 10, 20, 30 years that obviously have more say in the business than you, who's been there 6 months, right? So just a little bit different.
Exactly. Do you have any tips for navigating something like that?
Yeah, it sounds counterintuitive, but like, do great work. Like I said, eventually the cream rises, right? It's just, there's we had someone from Marketo. We had a marketing leader from Marketo. His name's David Kane. I love the guy. And he was another startup that joined at the same time I did. And so we used HubSpot at Building Connected. We had built a marketing demand gen and marketing ops team that were all HubSpot people. Then we went into a business and said, hey, can we keep using HubSpot? And it was like, hell no, like, that's not happening. I literally am from Marketo. So it's not always easy. It's like cultural shock. There's obviously change management happening there, but I guess navigating it is it's counterintuitive, but just do great work. If you can make sure that you're building relationships, like, you can't. There's people at other big companies that I've been and seen that are just kind of like hiding, and they don't want to be seen. It's like, don't let anyone notice what I'm doing, because then they'll call attention to it, and there's 10, 15,000 people here. So I can just kind of hide over here and I'm safe. Like, it's but if you're doing great work, it stands out. And so I know it sounds counterintuitive based on everything I just said, but just like, do fantastic work and eventually it shows. And then also be really open to change. If you're very rigid in your ways that this is the best way of doing things, which I used to be kind of like that, and you just got to be open and malleable, because there's a reason that they're a 10, $20 billion company. There's so be really open, build relationships. You have to build relationships. You got to go there. You gotta actually involve yourself and then do great work. You can't really be that silent genius that locks themselves in a room and just comes out with great work. You got to be really collaborative when there's 20 people involved in most decisions versus, I'll just go make a decision, it's done. So
exactly, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that. Actually, that's really insightful. So okay, moving on to Apollo now, a little bit more on that. So of course, I'm super eager to understand more about its mission and obviously the people behind its success. So could you start by giving us a snapshot of Apollo, like what the mission is and what business puzzles it's currently solving?
Yeah, sure. So Apollo was born out of a very basic need, is that sales and marketing and startups need to grow their business, right? Everyone's got to create revenue, especially right now. It's really hard. So to set up a go-to-market, like if I were to go join a new startup and I said, hey, I need to figure out how to grow my business to 10 million ARR, like, where do you even start? And it's, you got to figure out the right people to reach out to. You got to figure out messaging that's actually going to work. You got to figure out, I mentioned like your ICP. You can test 100. I mean, like when I was at Redkicks, we tested small businesses, we tested mid-market companies, enterprises, and we went more detailed into, are we bottom up or top down? Are we, do we need to be even more focused? Like it's really, really hard to figure out how to go to market. And so the way that we analogize it is, it's similar to building a go-to-market strategy, is similar to building a car. Like let's say I right now say I'm going to go build a self-driving car, and it's going to be an electric vehicle. It's going to be awesome. I can go and like do a bunch of research, spend 10 years in university. I can go buy all the different parts from who knows where, all over from different vendors, and I can like spend a year trying to put it together. And like maybe it'll work. It probably won't work so well, but like maybe if I'm lucky, something will happen. Or I can say, hey, I want a self-driving electric car. I'm gonna go buy a Tesla or a Rivian, which I just bought, so I'll use Rivian. I'll go buy a Rivian. And in a day, you're on the road. So with Apollo, basically, it's the same thing. So I could go buy like 10 different tools to set up my go-to-market. I can buy my data tools, my intelligence tools, my engagement, my conversational intelligence. Like it's in hire a RevOps army to go build this thing. I can go hire a bunch of salespeople to like try this out. I can hire a bunch of SDRs and like hopefully it works, and it's train everyone on these tools, and it's going to cost upwards of 6 figures, if not millions of dollars to do so. And really doing that's only available to the top 1% of companies in the world that can actually, it's like the snowflakes of the world, who can actually go and invest in this. And so Apollo basically said, hey, we'll get you started in a week. Like sign up for Apollo. You can prospect like within 5 minutes because it's free for everyone. But to really set up your whole go-to-market, we have CROs who join a new company and say, I joined, and 7 days later, I was on sales calls, because I had set up a successful outbound motion. So it's really born out of that challenge. Is our mission in general, just summing it all up, is we want to make world-class go-to-market that's really only available for these top 1% of companies, accessible to everyone. And so that's where the growth's been, and where historically I think there's been some large players in the space who are all kind of trying to out enterprise each other right now. If you look at a lot of competition, I guess, they're really all trying to out enterprise each other and lock people into these big contracts. We're like, hey, just use this thing for free, grow with us, and we're like, we'll be your partner for your go-to-market. So that's the very, very maybe not so high level, but the high level for Apollo is we want to make world-class go-to-market accessible to all and really help anyone be able to go from zero to an incredible go-to-market stack in as short a time as possible.
Cool, I love that. So, okay, you've also roped in quite a few industry heavyweights into your leadership ensemble. So, can you introduce us to their brain power behind Apollo and how they're pivotal to the company's triumphs right now?
Oh man, who do I start with? So, I'll do some. I guess I'll start with our CEO Tim, and Tim Zhang is just smart, one of the smartest people I've ever met. His brain, his motor is insane, and but Tim's just instrumental. Like it's his vision, and basically, Apollo was born out of his struggle to go to market, and so he had a startup, and he was trying to use all these different tools to go to market. It was very challenging to integrate it all. It just wasn't a good experience. So he said, I'm going to build my own internally, and then very quickly company got scooped up and was like, okay, now this is my full-time next thing. So he understands the space really, really well. I'll go into product. I think you'll see a puppy walking behind me who's the real brain behind all of this. But I think you can move over to our product team. So there's a wonderful man named Christian Patel, and he's actually started at Apollo as an SDR, and now like 7 years later, he's one of the longest tenured people. He understands the space really well. He's been here a long time. He led the switch to PLG, so just fantastic. I love that more than anything. People who like start doing, as an SDR, they don't come in as a chief and just work their butt off and their tail off, and it's like, yeah, you've earned this, you deserve it, you're the most knowledgeable now. So he's fantastic. And then we have Shake. Shake is I'm gonna mispronounce his last name, but he was at Qualtrics. He's our chief product officer. He was at Qualtrics. He led them through a sale, an IPO. Like, he's just unreal good at building product organizations, but also helping the executive team really have the right conversations and really thinking of like a 5-year strategy. He's fantastic. And then Leandra Fishman, who's just joined, she's from Intercom and a slew of other amazing companies that she is just, it's incredible to have her leadership on the sales team. It's just, I'm always very critical about my sales partner, as obviously they are about marketing, and she's just a joy to work with. She's brought a whole new level of sophistication to our sales team in a short time. So I don't know, that I could keep going for a long time. It's just, I think the team we've built here is people that really believe in the Apollo mission, and that have done this 3 or 4 or 5 times before. And so this is, I mentioned, this is the best team I've ever built. This is the best exec team I've ever worked with. And so I think right now it's really about execution for us. Like, can we focus on the right things and just go execute? And I think if we can do that, we'll all be very happy in 3 or 5 years. But all of us are here to really build a generational company, and like a company that, like Salesforce, like a company that maybe my dad used and that I use. And I think that's why we're here. So we're all product oriented. We're all here to build something that's long lasting. And I think we're all very collaborative and not territorial, which I love. No one's just trying to hold on to something for power in the organization. Going back to the political point, everyone's really just here to do amazing work. And if that means, hey, go, like Leandra, go take this marketing challenge, or product says, hey, David, go figure out, onboarding here. It's all very, very collaborative and not territorial, which is ideal in my book.
That's very good. Exactly. Yeah. What more do you want from a team, honestly? So, okay. So given that DesignRush is obviously like a leading online marketplace for digital agencies, how would you say Apollo maintains its competitive edge, particularly in providing services that meet the needs of companies featured on platforms like ours, DesignRush?
Yeah. So I think a few things. Like I mentioned the PLG. We truly are building a product that people have to love, or else they leave. Like we're not locking people into these 2-year contracts, 3-year contracts for millions of dollars. Like, pay for a month, and if you hate it, leave. So we're truly trying to build the best product rather than just a product that's going to make a lot of money. I think, unlike a lot of these companies where the barrier of entry is like $10K to even start, or else we're never going to talk to you. You can't even get access unless you pay us $50K, or you're going to pay $1 million for what you'll pay Apollo $50,000 for, which is what our CRO was doing. She was using one of our competitors for $1 million a year, and she was like, okay, I can get this for 50 grand, and it's actually better. So we truly are trying to provide the best product at like a price point and at an entry point where people can actually use this thing. So if you're a small business, if you're a founder, if you're a marketer, you're in sales, anyone that is trying to actually go to market should be using Apollo, and it's completely free to start. Like, the proof's in the pudding. Just use it for free. That's why we're growing, is because people are using it, and it's affordable. So it's not only super powerful. You're not gonna have to go build and buy 10 different tools. Like, you can get started and get on calls with customers in 10 minutes. So that's where a sweet spot really is. That's the backbone of our growth is small business and mid-market companies. We have our enterprise customers for sure, but we're really focused on that, making go-to-market, world-class go-to-market available for everyone. So I would say just use the thing, just try it. And anyone from like job seekers trying to find email addresses of like a recruiter or a phone number, all the way to like marketers trying to actually get incredible leads to their sales team. Anyone can use this thing for free, so just try it, and I promise you'll love it, and then hopefully we'll become partners long term.
Amazing. So, okay, but also Apollo IO is now like the crown jewel of G2 in sales intelligence and sales engagement. So, what, in your opinion, elevates your platform in this crowded area?
Yeah, so I think that there's a few things. Like, obviously, if people didn't love it, I mentioned before, so I won't go too much into it.
Yeah.
Like, we have to build a product people love because they're not locked into contracts. So we have to have incredible customer support. We have to have a great first-time user experience. We have to not cheat people out of their money. You know, we can't sue people if they don't pay us. Like, we can't do any of that stuff. So we truly are trying to build a community and a brand and a product that people love and that is genuinely helping people. I think we're doing that practically by, at what you mentioned, combining sales intelligence and data with all of the sales execution. So
Yeah.
while, as I mentioned before, like for example, everyone's talking about AI right now, right? So I'll say AI so that everyone will be happy. So it is important though. So everyone's talking about AI right now, and AI is great, but it can be just like, here's a email we wrote for you. And AI is that's kind of what most people are doing. And AI is really only as good as the data that you put into it. So basically, like, we have world-class data, and then we have world-class execution tools, and so combining those unlocks these new paradigms. If they're siloed, you just don't get the benefit of the data. Like, let's say I have an engagement tool. I'm using Outreach or SalesLoft or who knows who, and I want to create a bunch of campaigns. Like, I can have kind of half-assed personalization, or I can have personalization based on millions of other people's engagements with this prospect or with this company. We know all about what works, what's successful, what's not successful. We know we're connected to your CRM there and we really combine and enrich your CRM with our data, so that when you're actually running these sales execution tools or workflows, you have data throughout the entire process, whether that's when you're doing AI personalization. Like, it's not just AI personalization based on what they can find on the web. It's AI personalization based on your engagements with that prospect in the past, and everyone else's what we know about these prospects in our data. So the data is really the secret sauce here, and you can see that all the way from we just launched meetings yesterday. So I will spill the beans, but we're going to be really incorporating a lot of our data into those meetings. So the meeting you're about to have, like, who is this person? Within your calendar invite, after the meeting, we have automated follow-up. Like, we have a whole lot of opportunities with the execution tools that we're making. And because our data is so good, and because we're PLG and we have millions of people validating this data all the time, it's accurate. So it's more accurate than anyone else. So there's a slew of execution tools that are all made better with data. And I think unless you have that data, then in my opinion, you're going to struggle. And we're seeing that happen with a lot of these sales execution tools trying to integrate with data tools, because they're like, oh, we actually need that. So I think because we are integrated and consolidated from the beginning, people consolidate once. They don't consolidate 10 different times and go back and forth. It's just like, what's your tech stack look like? Well, it's Apollo. It simplifies the entire experience for everyone, but not just simplifies it, it makes it more powerful because of the data.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I mean, look, you've said earlier that Apollo works for everybody, job seekers, everybody, right? But are you finding that there's like specific businesses right now that's benefiting the most out of Apollo?
Yeah, so I think there's we can really look at it by let's make sure. So we can really look at it by type of company for how they're using Apollo. In the enterprise, people are using Apollo for, right now, we have some really exciting stuff coming in about a month, but right now we've seen a lot of success with just like data plus engagement.
Can you dish? Sorry, I'm interrupting you. Can you dish on that? Like, what's coming or not yet?
In about a month and a half, we'll be announcing some really exciting stuff that we're using the Series D for, and maybe 2 months, who knows. But I mean, I know, but we have some really exciting product that we've been working on for a long time. So keep your eyes out. We're gonna have a big event coming up.
Amazing.
And but right now, I'll say, or at least historically, we've really excelled in the enterprise with data plus engagement. So it's just people coming together and saying, hey, your data is just empirically better, and data is the fuel for our entire go-to-market. So our main go-to-market there is we're just like, hey, show us your data. We'll show you our data. It's literally better. Like, we're at fifth of the price. We're done here. And so that's the very basic land. The expand is then into the consolidation of data plus engagement. So coming in and saying, hey, you're using our data, like, let's just add on engagement to it. It's just as powerful, and not just as powerful, it's even more powerful with the data infused engagement. So that's been the enterprise. If you look at more of the mid-market and the SMB, we're seeing success across any industry, really. It's hard for me to tell you exactly. I mean, I could tell you like top 10, but anyone can have success with this. It's not just tech companies either. It's companies of all sorts of industries you wouldn't expect. And the go-to-market for kind of the SMB and the mid-market is we'll just run your whole go-to-market. And so while it's a little harder, obviously, to get the enterprise to consolidate on like 8 tools at once, it just doesn't happen. No one's gonna to join a new company and say, hey, I know you have this $10 billion business, but switch off everything and then start using Apollo. Like that will never happen. So we gotta land and expand there. But when it comes to the SMBs or the mid-market, it's a lot more likely to start from 3 or 4 different offerings in Apollo at once, and to just grow with Apollo as you grow. So that's kind of the basic split, is people really start with data and engagement in the enterprise. But consolidation is happening everywhere, and I'm not the first person, obviously, to say consolidation is happening. You can just make the choice. Do you want to consolidate once, or do you just want to consolidate every year or two? And so at the enterprise, it's a little bit different than SMB and mid-market, which is our sweet spot right now is mid-market and SMB for sure. And I think I mentioned that if you look at the sales tech space, everyone's trying to out enterprise each other, and we're kind of like, that seems hard. So yeah, let's look at we look at the HubSpot model, really. Like, look at what HubSpot's done. They went up market when people asked them to. They didn't try and force their way up there. And the companies that they landed in the SMB mid-market, eventually they grew. So we're very happy where we are right now, and letting the other guys duke it out.
Very cool. Okay, so also Apollo is like deeply ingrained with AI, of course, So have the latest innovations in, say, for instance, generative AI been integrated into your platform over the past? And if so, how?
So the most basic one that you're seeing everyone, that we've taken to another level, that you're seeing everyone do is generative, like AI writing. So, hey, I gotta write a prospecting email to this person. Write it for me. And like, that can be okay. It was pulled from the web. But I think that goes back to my point about why Apollo is so special, is we have this incredible, empirically, literally the best database out there that we can input into this AI. So for example, with your engagement campaigns, we can not just say I want to write a prospecting email to you. It won't just say, hey Bianca, I am excited to talk to you. You work at this company. Like, we're done here. Let's get on a call. Like, we have two things. We have obviously we have the writing, but the writing is built by the data that personalizes it. So we can personalize it with millions of different data points. We can understand what's worked with companies like yours. We can understand what other people have had success doing with people like you. And we can then feed our AI model to have something that's empirically more effective. I think it's 90% increase in response rates when people are actually using Apollo's generative AI. Probably got that stat wrong, but it's something ridiculous. And so we can also provide you with like insights, such as signals when you're making your calls, or when you're using our conversations features. So you can see all the different behavioral and demographic insights that we have that we have on like a contact or a company. and we can show you the top ones and how to tweak your messaging based on those signals. And it's just that those are things that you can't get without the data being really ingrained in the execution tools.
Yeah, exactly. So sorry about that, David, but you broke up there for a little bit. But that's okay. I think we got the gist of it. Okay, so also I read recently a Forbes article highlighted how generative AI is revolutionizing marketing creativity, with I think it was like 73% of marketing professionals leveraging it for content creation. So my question is how is Apollo leveraging this technology to stay competitive? And do you foresee any like traditional marketing roles changing?
Sure. So Apollo specifically, and I think that people are really. I mean, I don't know how many people are worried right now. People at the start of the year were really worried that AI is going to take everyone's jobs, and
I remember that, yeah.
maybe we're seeing a little less stress there, or maybe we're just pretending like it's not going to happen in 10, 20 years. But it's I don't think AI is coming for don't it's on the record, so maybe it comes for all of our jobs, but right now.
Yeah.
And really what we're focused on Apollo is taking care, and in general I think AI is how we're using AI at Apollo in marketing specifically, is to make sure that you can focus on what you should be focusing on rather than on what you can automate. So if you're spending all of your time updating fields in CRMs or clicking through to do repetitive tasks, like let's automate all of that for you, so that you can actually focus on building relationships and doing great work. I think no one hires salespeople because they're incredible operations people who just like are really fast data entry and like love filling out fields. Like that's not why you're a great salesperson. So let's help Apollo wants to help basically take that off your plate so you can spend time actually building those relationships. And that comes in the form of a lot of things. It comes in the form of the data being there for you so that you're not having to go check like when's the last time someone contacted this person, what sort of message would work best to get a response out of this person. Like we can automate a lot of that, and because we have the data throughout the entire sales execution funnel, like it's just something no one else has. And I think that's why we're uniquely positioned here to build incredible AI that is, I think our wonderful product marketer says, AI is only as good as the data you put into it. And most people are just putting public crawling of the internet into their AI. Like we have really proprietary, world-class, incredible data that goes into our AI that no one else has. So if you click a button, we can set up not just like an email to a prospect, but like an entire sales play that's built on AI. And then you can just go, and we're not going to send it for you. You can go and check it, make sure everything looks good. But let's have salespeople actually on the phones, talking to people, building relationships, rather than just clicking a bunch of buttons all day, every day.
Okay, so now looking towards the future, we're obviously interested in like your insights and the evolution of like sales engagement and lead generation.
Yeah.
So how do you envision the evolution of sales engagement and lead generation in like the next coming years?
Yeah, I spoke to it a little bit. I am interested, I guess, in a few things.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the role of an SDR is changing, for sure. With how do I want to put this? I'll give you an example. Like at Apollo, we are right now using our platform to its fullest capabilities, generating about 2,000 leads for our AEs without anyone ever writing an email or like following up on an email. It's just all automated with Apollo. And so what does that mean the SDR is going to be working on? I think the SDR is going to be working on becoming a little more strategic. So like let's, versus just like let's write 10,000 emails and respond to 10,000 emails. Yeah. So I think the role of the SDRs, I think it's a wonderful thing. I think that the role of the SDRs will become more strategic. I think the role of an AE will become more strategic as people have more time because of sophistication that's happening with the tooling. So that's one thing that I'm excited about. I think I think AEs and SDRs should be excited about it. But I think people worry about it a little bit. It's like, wait, am I going to have a job? It's like, yes, you're going to have a job. It's going to be more strategic, and you're going to learn more and be more effective.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing. So SDRs can just actually talk to customers and actually look at the data and understand things versus just spamming people. So I think that's one. And I think the second one is like much more targeted, hyper personalized emails. I think when you're using Apollo to its full potential, you're actually sending less emails. They're just much more effective.
Okay.
And so maybe it's weird to say we're a really goal is to be like the anti-spam company, so that we have really incredible intent. We have really strong lead scoring. We're connected into your CRM. We know exactly who you should reach out to because the data is built in there. So you're not emailing every person in a company. You're emailing one person who's shown intent. So as these things get more sophisticated, hopefully it's better for everyone, where everyone can focus on stuff that actually matters. So that's at the highest level, I guess. I think like I can talk about consolidation all day, but everyone else talks about that. So we're in a consolidation right now. So that's happening. Less tools.
Cool. Perfect. Sounds great. Okay, so I know that we've covered a lot today, but I was wondering if you would be keen to just answer like a few like fun questions as well.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, cool. So if you had an unlimited budget and resources, what is the one marketing stunt or campaign you've always wanted to pull off for Apollo?
Unlimited resources. I would give Apollo away for free to everyone, but that's not gonna happen.
Okay.
Just I truly think, and the people here truly believe it's doing wonderful things for small businesses, for businesses, and so being able to give this thing startup promo that any startup gets it for free, that'd be nice. But that's a big one. And then I've always loved video. I always loved creative campaigns, so I'd run very large, long-lasting creative video ads on any sort of media that you can get in front of.
It's always a fun project to be a part of for sure. So, okay, if you could collaborate with any brand or any individual in a marketing campaign, who would it be and what would the campaign look like?
Oh man, that's a good question. Who? I mean, I just kind of mentioned the video aspect. I think a company I've always wanted to work with is Goodbye, or what's their name? Let's see. You're gonna have to edit this one.
That's okay.
Yeah, GS&P. So just
Okay.
like an incredible creative agency that works with a lot of consumer brands.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm needing inspiration, I just go look at their work. They're just incredible. They win like Adweek's campaigns of the year and all that stuff all the time. But something I'm really passionate about is consumer grade B2B marketing. If that makes sense. I think that B2B marketing is just so boring most of the time,
Yeah.
and everyone's just over it. Everyone's over looking at the webinar, or not the webinar, the ebook that you got to go enter 10 fields to download, and
Yeah.
like who's gonna do that? Like I'm over B2B marketing, so consumer grade B2B marketing is something that I always strive for, and so working with really fun creative agencies is one of my favorite things to do there.
Okay. Amazing.
Like
Okay. So
I want the Doritos version of B2B marketing, or like the stuff like that. So
I think that's probably one of the best answers you could have given. Okay. And lastly, if you were to create a time capsule to represent the essence of marketing in 2023, what three items or pieces of content would you put in there?
The essence of marketing. Yeah, there's a lot of confusion. So I don't know, maybe an 8 ball.
An 8 ball.
Yeah, just like no one knows the answer right now. Everyone's confused. So shake that magic 8 ball and get an answer to whatever your marketing questions are, and maybe it'll work.
Okay.
Um, a credit card with a like $200 limit as a second one. And it's always at the max, and people are calling you about it. And then a third one, maybe a life vest, just trying to stay above water. It's pretty challenging times right now, I'll be honest, but
That's a pretty bleak times capsule. I'm
yeah,
not.
but it's all okay. It's all okay. No, it's I think like I feel very lucky to be in a unique place where we're growing so quickly. I
Yeah.
think that it's just there's a lot of struggle in the market right now, so I feel real blessed.
Okay.
And certainly I see the struggles that a lot of companies are having. I think we're turning a corner. I hope we're turning a corner. But obviously the last couple of years have been really tough. So I think all of those things are good things to always be thinking of. I think like being efficient with spend is always very important, you know. So
Sure.
I'm not saying these are necessarily terrible things, but it's certainly heightened. A magnifying glass is maybe that's a better answer. Just everyone's looking really really closely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, David, thank you so much for everything today. Seriously, it was an absolute pleasure having you with us, and your insights were chef's kiss. Really, thank you.
Well, a pleasure. Thank you for having me, and look forward to chatting again soon.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. If your project could benefit from a top-tier digital agency's expertise, look no further. Head to designrush.com/marketplace. Our carefully curated selection of agencies is equipped to help you navigate the evolving digital landscape and bring your vision to life. Again, I'm your host, Bianca Mayer. Stay curious and join us for the next episode.